Have you ever noticed how a lot of horror games feel eerily familiar? How you can probably recognize the same mechanics and scare opportunities from game to game. It's almost like you're playing it over and over again. But what if you were? These days, most indie horror games all seem to follow a certain pattern and rarely deviate from it. It's something that I and many players in the community have picked up on. I personally call it the horror game handbook. First, to make a generic horror game, you need a scary setting. This could be anything from working the night shift somewhere, being home alone at night, or the classic, taking a scenic walk through the forest at 3 a.m. Always a great idea. Next, to increase the tension, what you need is some good filler in the form of some scavenger hunt. Usually games like to get you to go find a key in a nondescript area or do some random cleaning assignment. And if you're really lucky, you may even experience some spooks along the way. Finally, for the climax, the real scares begin. The lights turn off, the monster is out, and you have to escape somehow. Maybe even throw in a little code lock in for good measure. Sound familiar? This exact script fits so many different games because that's what most indie horror has become. Replication. But why? Why have horror games devolved into this, and are all horror games really the same? Horror is an interesting genre as it's one that relies solely on your emotions to pull off. A developer needs to make sure that every tiny detail is in place so that you feel the way they want. This means that a lot of the focus is on the background aspects of the game. The sounds, the atmospheres, the colors, they all need to be just right. And because of this, the focus on gameplay doesn't get nearly as much attention. The main goal of a horror game is for you to be scared, not really thinking about how fun or innovative the gameplay is. Though, having good gameplay isn't impossible. In fact, it's very much encouraged. Take Five Nights at Freddy's for example. I know, a very saturated topic, but the reason why it was so popular, excluding the lore, was the gameplay. It had interesting mechanics that allowed it to be replayable, while also being something that was never really seen before. You had YouTubers freaking out seconds after pressing play due to the fact that they couldn't move. It just completely went against the norm of games at the time, and it worked. And because it did, thousands of similar games flooded the market. This scenario is exactly what I feel like we see often. A usually short, innovative horror game comes out, becomes extremely popular, and then a lot of developers see this as an opportunity to attribute their story/lore onto an already established frame. It's why a lot of the games that come out now seem to be reskins of each other. But there's a reason for this. Making horror games isn't simple. It can easily take multiple months to create short games due to the complexity of game development. So when it comes time for the developer to create a gameplay loop that includes tension, build-up, and climax, they usually want to stick to something that they know will work rather than risking all these months on something that doesn't. The question then becomes, is this a bad thing? The pros are that this type of style, to use trends to influence gameplay, will get us a lot more horror games with new and interesting concepts for each. Developers will be able to tell their stories and still deliver proven scares by using an already established gameplay loop. The cons, however, is that horror will be predictable, as it mostly has been for the past decade or so. This hasn't stopped developers from creating great games, it just allowed a lot of people to know exactly where to expect the scariest parts of these games. So we've established that a lot of horror games are almost the same gameplay-wise, but that it allows developers to make something that works. Something that will play with your emotions for the most part, and allow them to express what they want in a way that has been proven before. So what should you think? In the end, it's up to you, the individual, to determine that if having a similar gameplay is enough to push you away from great stories that are layered underneath. Some people can push that aside and some people can't. That's how a lot of things are, and this is no different. Hopefully now, you know why a lot of horror games feel the same. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like it, and if you want to see more horror-based content, make sure to subscribe. We're coming up on Halloween, so it's a perfect time to get in on the action. Also, thank you guys so much for the support lately. It means more than you could ever know. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope to see you guys later.